Hello, welcome to Microsoft Azure training series powered by ATCSL. My name is Neeraj. I am an enterprise architect, Microsoft Certified Azure Administrator Associate, and I will be your instructor for this course. Welcome to part 3 of the Azure Virtual Network series, creating Point-to-Site VPN. So this is going to be a demo intrinsic session, and we are going to learn about how to make the Point-to-Site VPN, how to create the virtual network gateways, and how to create a separate subnet for the gateway that is required, creating of the certificates that is required, and then installing the VPN client, and then connecting to the Azure virtual machine from your on-premises system or on-premises resource using the VPN client that we have downloaded. So let's get started. A Point-to-Site VPN gateway helps in the creation of a secure connection to Azure Virtual Network from a remote location. Point-to-Site VPN connections, they are useful when we have fewer number of clients or fewer number of users who want to connect to the Azure Virtual Network from a remote location, as I already told you, like telecommunicating from home or a conference where they have a different internet services provider. Now, to connect to the Azure Virtual Network, a VPN client is needed on the client system, and this VPN client is installed on the individual client computers. So when a user wants to connect to the Azure Virtual Network and access the resources such as the virtual machine, they need to connect through the VPN client. They need to connect the VPN client and then access the resources on the inside the virtual network. Now, point-to-site connections do not require a VPN device or a public-facing IP address. They create the VPN connection over either the SSTP, which is the Secure Socket Tunneling Protocol, or IKE version 2. And they also often use OpenVPN. And when to use what? So when you're using OpenVPN, they can be used to connect from Android devices, the iOS, which is version 11.0 and above, Linux, and Mac devices, which is the version 10.13 and above. For Secure Socket Tunneling Protocol, which is the SSTP, they can penetrate the firewall, but they are only supported on Windows devices. For IKE version 2 VPN, they can be used to connect from Mac devices, which is operating system 10.11 and above. A point-to-site VPN gateway helps in the creation of a secure connection to Azure Virtual Network from a remote location. When we are creating the virtual network gateway for the point-to-site VPN, we have the option of creating the point-to-site VPN under different available SKUs. So we will have a brief overview of the different SKUs available for us for the point-to-site VPN. So we'll talk about the basic SKU, where the site-to-site or the VNet to VNet tunnels, we can have a maximum of 10 connections. And for the point-to-site, the SSTP connections, we can have a maximum of 128 connections. For point-to-site IKE version 2, if you are using that protocol, it is not supported in the basic SKU. And the aggregate throughput benchmark is around 100 Mbps, and the BGP is not supported. For VPN GW1, which is the VPN Gateway 1, we have the site-to-site or VNet to VNet tunnels. That's a maximum of 30. But for the point-to-site SSTP connections, we can have a maximum of 128, which is similar to what we have for the basic SKU. But for point-to-site IKE version 2, which was not supported in the basic SKU, here in VPN Gateway 1, a maximum of 250 connections can be made over the IKE version 2 tunnel. And we have an aggregate throughput of 650 Mbps, and we have the BGP support for this. And for the rest of the VPN GW1, GW2 and GW3 SKU also, we have the BGP supported. And for VPN GW2 and GW3, we It is similar to the VPN GW1 in many ways, like it supports the maximum of 30 S2S or VNet to VNet tunnels, and for point-to-site SSTP connections, which is the Secure Socket Tunnel Protocol, maximum of 128. So this remains constant for all the available SKUs, but in the point-to-site using the IKE version 2 protocol, we'll have a maximum of 500 for GW2 and a maximum of 1000 connections for GW3. And the aggregate throughput, although, increases when we choose between the different SKUs. Like for GW2, it is 1 Gbps, whereas VPN GW3, we have 1.25 Gbps. Before we start with the demo, let us first understand as to what we are going to create. From the previous session, which was the part 2 of the Azure Virtual Network series, we saw that we created the virtual network named ATCSL_VNet in the central US region. We will utilize the similar resource and all the virtual machines which we created. So we will use those resources and we will proceed and we will build on top of the same resources. So we already have the two WFEs that we created under the two different subnets. So one was ATCSL_VNet_WFE, which used the address space of 10.10.1.0/24, whereas the subnet with DB, we had the 10.10.2.0/24 as the subnet IP address range. Now, what we are going to do, since the gateway subnet requires a completely different subnet to be created for the VPN gateway to function, we will have the gateway subnet, and that will be using 10.10.0.0/24. Now, apart from that, what we are going to do, we are going to have a VPN client address pool of 172.20.10.0/24. So this is going to be the basic configuration, and once that is done, we will try to install the VPN client and try to access the virtual network that we have created. The steps, as you see, are simple. So first is you create a virtual network inside the resource group. Once that is created, along with the different other subnets that we have inside the virtual network for the virtual machines, we'll also need to have one gateway subnet. And then the virtual network gateway is created. For the virtual network gateway, we need the root VPN certificate. And for this, we will be utilizing the MakeCert utility that comes with the Windows 10 SDK. Once the root certificate is created, we will install it within the certificate manager. And from there, we need to export the VP root certificate as a base 64 without the password. And that is to be consumed within the gateway of the Azure portal. Once that is done, we'll then create the client certificate, which will handshake and needs to be there installed on the client systems so that there can be a handshake between the root and the client certificates. Again, this certificate is going to be the PFX in the PFX extension. So just as to make sure that that certificate will have the password, so that when we are installing it, it will prompt for the password which we'll be providing for the installation. Now, once that is done, we will download the VPN software, and this download is only available after we have provided the details of the root certificate on the gateway. Once that is done, we will download the VPN software, we will install the client certificate, and then we will install the VPN client. Once everything is done from step 1 to 8, then we will try to connect the virtual machine within the virtual network using the private IP address. Remember from the previous session, we used to connect it via the RDP using the public IP address. But now, since we are connected through the VPN client, our system is now capable of connecting to the virtual network resources using the private IP address. So one more thing before we jump onto the demo is that for this demo, we are using the point-to-site VPN tunnel using the SSTP. And the second thing is we are creating the certificate. We are making use of the MakeCert utility. But in the real production scenario, you need to purchase a valid certificate from the certificate authority. Now it's time for us to see the demo of how point-to-site VPN connectivity is created. Let's get started. Now today, as I've already told you, we are going to have a demo on creating a point-to-site VPN. This is going to be the part 3rd of Azure Virtual Network series, and so we will see what all we already have it from our second session and what we are going to do next. So first of all, we'll just go on to portal.azure.com, which will bring us to the dashboard of the Azure Services Portal dashboard. And so we go to the all resources. Since we already created some of the resources in our previous session, here is a list of all that we had created earlier. So first of all, let me go to resource groups. So we have a resource group called ETCSL, and then we have the other one, which is Network Watcher RG. So you remember I told you that Network Watcher RG is something which is created by default now and is provided by Microsoft, automatically created. The one that I created earlier is ATCSL. So if we click on ATCSL, we see the overview, and within the overview we see the different sources that were created earlier. So one was the ATCSL VNet, which is the virtual network which we created in a previous session. Then we have the network security group. This is the custom network security group which we created. So when you create virtual machines, the network security group and the network interfaces and the IP addresses are automatically created. But if you want to create the NSG, the network security group, which has custom rules defined by you, you can separately create them. So this is what we had created. And then if you remember, you can assign this network security group either directly to the virtual machines, so that each individual virtual machine can have their separate network security group and they follow the rules defined within the network security group, or you can also assign the rules, these NSGs, to the subnets, and all the resources within the subnet, that is all the virtual machines within the subnet, will follow the same rules. Then we had some data disks that were created, and then we had certain virtual machines that we had created, which is WFE1, 01, WFE02, and along with WFE0. Okay, so these are the one which is DB02 and DB01. So those were the 4 virtual machines that I had created. And next is we are going to create the VPN gateway. Now this is going to be the point-to-site and will enable users to connect to their corporate network, or from outside of their corporate network they can connect to the VPN tunnel that you have created and then connect to their Azure portal. So we'll get started by creating the VPN gateway. The first thing we need to do is to create the gateway subnet. So what we are going to do is go to virtual network, and within the virtual network, which is ATCSL_VNet, we have a section called subnets. We'll click on the subnets and we will see that we have 2 different subnets here. One is ATCSL VNet WFE for the virtual web frontend, and then we have the ATCSL VNet DB, which we had created as the subnet for our DB virtual machines. Now, to start with the creation of the point-to-site VPN, the first thing we need to do is to create a gateway. So here it is, the plus gateway subnet. So we'll click on this and it will ask me for the name and then the IP address range in the CIDR notification notation. And then we have the route table, the services endpoints, and the subnet delegation. So one interesting point that I wanted to show you before creating or hitting on the OK button for the creation of the gateway subnet is, let me close this for once. If you see here in the address range for ATCSL VNet DB, we have 10.10.2.0/24, and for ATCSL VNet WFE, we have 10.10.1.0/24. Now, if I click on the gateway subnet, it will automatically take 10.10.0.0/24 as the CIDR notation, and it will give the default name of the gateway subnet. But this is very interesting, right? It will automatically take the IP address range for itself. So we will leave all the options as default and we'll click on OK, and this will be creating the gateway subnet for us. And this was really quick. It gave us the gateway subnet here, and we have 10.1.0.0/24 as the address range for the gateway subnet. So once the gateway subnet is ready with us, the next step that we are going to do is to create the virtual network gateway. For creating the virtual network gateway, I will type in the virtual network gateway, and it will give us a few options. So the first option here is virtual network gateways. We'll click on it. For now, we see that there is nothing. We don't have the virtual network gateway created. So we'll just click on add here, or the other option is to click on the button here, the create virtual network gateway. So we'll click on the plus sign here, and it will give me options to create the virtual network gateway. The first thing we need to give is the name. So we'll give it a name of ATCSL underscore VNet underscore maybe virtual network gateway. And the gateway type is VPN. We are not considering the express route. That is a separate discussion altogether. And this is for the corporates who want to have a dedicated connection between Azure network and their own corporate network. So they can take help from the ISPs through which they can create the express route to the Azure network. The other one is the VPN, which we are considering for today. So we'll keep it as VPN. The VPN type is route based, and the SKU is VPN GW1, VPN GW2. So for now, we will keep it as basic, or we can keep it as VPN Gateway 1. So let us keep it as basic for now. And for the virtual network, we'll click on it, and here our ATCSL underscore VNet, this virtual network is appearing only because we have the gateway subnet created there. If in case we would have forgotten or not have created the gateway subnet within the ATCSL VNet virtual network, this option of choosing the ATCSL underscore VNet as the virtual network wouldn't have appeared. So we'll click on this, and we have the virtual network selected. We can create the public IP address, we can create a new one, or we can use existing, but we have not created any IP address as such, and all the IP addresses, all the external external IPs that were created were for the 4 virtual machines that we had created earlier. So we'll click on create new. We'll leave it as it is. It will create the one IP address that we need, public IP address for us, and we'll keep this public IP address for the basic. And then scrolling down, my subscription, as you know, is pay as you go. The resource group will keep it as ATCSL, and we don't have any options to change them, although. And we'll click on create. But before we create, if you read here, Azure recommends using a validated VPN device with your virtual network gateway, and to view a list of validated devices and instructions for the configuration, there is a good documentation here that can be read. So one thing, this will take a good amount of time. Previously they had this notification of around 45 minutes for creating the virtual network gateway, but let's see how much time does it take. So we'll click on create, and okay, so it is asking me to provide the name that is to be created for the new public IP address that we want for the VPN gateway. So let's give it a name. We'll give it a name as VPN underscore gateway underscore IP. And we click on create. So for now it is validating, and once the validation is successful, it will start the creation. So we will pause the video here and we'll return back once the virtual network gateway has been created for us.
By the time this virtual network gateway is getting created, as a next step, we have to create two certificates. One is the root certificate and the other one is the client certificate. Now, as the name suggests, the root certificate, that is to be uploaded to the Azure portal for the gateway to be working on, and the client certificate is to be distributed to all the clients which will be using the VPN gateway to connect to the to the Azure portal. Now, making the certificate is easy, fairly simple. For the demo purposes, we can use the makecert utility that comes with the Windows 10 SDK, or for the production purposes, you need to purchase the certificate from a certificate authority. So what you can do is you can either go to Windows 10 SDK and click on the first link and download the installer from here. Since I already have the Windows 10 SDK installed on my system, I'll straight away go there, and if you see, basically the path is C program files x86 Windows kits 10 bin. But since I have multiple cumulative updates and patches and upgrades, intermediate updates, I have a separate folder here, 10.0.17134, and then we have x86, and clicking on x86 will bring me to inside the folder where I have the makecert utility. Now, to run the makecert utility, I need to run the command for making the certificate using the command prompt. So I'll just bring in the command prompt, and here you go. So I am on C Windows System 32. What I'm going to do next is I'll just copy this path, go here and do a CD. So once I am inside this path, I can run the makecert utility. I can run the makecert utility and create a certificate for myself. So what I have done is I have already written this command here on my notepad so that it's easier for me to run. I'll just paste it. So even before I run, I'll give you a brief overview of what this command is doing. So we are running the makecert utility, and what we are doing is we are giving it a name of AQTCSL VPN root cert, and this is creating a .cer version with 2048 encryption SHA-1. Now once we run this is going to get inside the certificate manager, and we are going to export this as base64, and then we are going to upload it. So that is another process that I'm going to show you shortly. And then we'll use this root certificate to create a PFX base64 PFX file with the password. So let us start by just hitting enter. So if you see here, it says succeeded. So where did it go? Where did the certificate go? Let's see. So I'll just come here and do a date modified, and you can see here, right, we have AQTCSL VPN root cert. So one is this. The other one that I need to do is to create a client certificate. But even before I do that, let me just copy it from here, and I'll create another folder here, and I'll name it as Azure. I'll paste it inside. Okay. Now that we have the AQTCSL VPN root cert certificate inside the Azure folder, we need to install the certificate, and then from the cert manager export it as a base64 certificate without the password. Now that will be consumed by the VPN gateway in the Azure portal, and then as a second step we are going to create the client certificate. But for now we need to install this certificate. Since the command is makecert, we are using the makecert utility to create the certificate. The installation at times is required, but hopefully the creation itself has placed the certificate in the certificate manager. So we are just going to verify this. For now it is not there. If I right click and click on refresh, we'll see that AQTCSL VPN root client is already present. Now if I right click on this certificate, what I can do is I can export it. Click on next. No, do not export the private key. I told you, for the certificate to be consumed by the Azure portal, we are going to export it without the key, and this is how you manage that. You click on the no, do not export the private key, click on next, then check the base64, click next, click on browse, go to that folder Azure, and then just for the naming convention, name it as base64. Click on save, click next, finish, and the export was successful. You can verify that by going to this folder, and you see that AQTCSL VPN root certificate underscore base64.cert has been created. Now open the notepad, copy the second command, which is the makecert command for the client certificate. Just copy that command, go to the command prompt and paste it. So this command will create the AQTCSL VPN client certificate for the root certificate that we had created earlier. So we will click on enter, and it says succeeded. Now if you go to the certificate, right click on it and refresh, you will see that you have the AQTCSL VPN client cert created here. Just right click on the certificate and again do an export. Now since this is to be consumed by all the agents or all the machines connecting to the Azure portal from outside of the network, we will export the private key as well. So we'll click on next, and this is going to be a PFX. Click next, and we'll have the password for it. So we'll name it as 123456. I'll just name it as 123456 and 123456 again, and click next. File name, I'll use the same folder, and I'll give it as AQTCSL VPN Client. And click on save. The export was successful, and this can be verified by going to that folder. We have the VPN root certificate, which was created using the command, using the utility mixer.exe, and then after that was created, we exported the same from the certificate manager as a base 64 without the password, and again we created a client certificate using the makecert utility and exported that as a pfx. Going back to the portal, we'll just go to the portal, and here we will just click on refresh. We'll see that ATCSL VNet a virtual network gateway has been created. We'll click on this, and now we will see the different options here. One is the overview, which will see the details as subscription as pay as you go, the location as Central US, and the resource group name as ATCSL, whatever was mentioned. And then we have the public IP address, which is the name which we gave as VPN Gateway IP. So this was created for us, and the virtual network that it uses is ATCSL_VNet. We now go to the point-to-site configurations, and we'll click on configure now. We have to give the address pool, and then we also need to give the root certificate details which we had created as base 64. So we are going to create this as say 172 dot maybe 10.10.0/24. No, I can't get that because the address range should be from 172.16 to 172.31 or 192.168 or 10.0. So let us keep it as 10.20.10.0/24, and we'll give it a name which is AQ TCSL root cert. And for the public certificate data, there is one thing that we need to do. So we will open the folder, and we will open the certificate in the notepad or in notepad++. Now we have this file open in the notepad. What we are going to do next is put everything in a single line. So we will go to the view, and here the word wrap is not there. That's fine. So we will start deleting it so as to make it in a single line. So I know it is a little tedious, but that is how the certificate will be accepted by the gateway. And there you go. Now we have those encrypted characters in a single line. We will just copy paste from the very beginning until the end. copy it and then go back to the portal and paste it here. So now it has been taken and we are going to save this. So once we are going to save this, and this is saving the virtual network gateway with the details that we have provided. So once that all the configuration details are saved, we will get this download VPN client enabled for us so that we can download the VPN client. So we'll wait for the configuration to get over. So finally, we see that the network gateway configuration has been successfully completed, and we also get the download VPN client button enabled for us. So we'll just click on the download VPN client, and this will prepare the VPN client download for us and get us the VPN client software that we need to install on the local machine or any other machine which wants to connect to the Azure portal. So we will wait for some time before we get the VPN client downloaded to our system. We now have the ATCSL VNet Virtual Network Gateway.zip downloaded on my local machine, which is the VPN Client Gateway, VPN client, which I'll be using to connect to the Azure portal. Now, what I've done is I have already copied it on my folder Azure, where I have all the certificates, and then when I extract this zip file, I get three folders. One is Windows x86, the Windows AMD 64, and the generic. And before installing, as per my requirements, I need to install the PFX. So I'll just right click on the PFX and click on install PFX. It will ask me the details, which I'm going to click next, and then provide the password which I had given during the creation of the VPN client certificate, and then click on next, and finish. So once that is completed, it will give me a prompt saying that the import was successful. I'll click on OK, and then I will go to, since my machine is a 64-bit machine, so I'll go to Windows AMD 64 and right click and run as administrator, and then I'll click on yes, and the installation has started. Once we have the VPN client installed, how we can verify is by clicking on the connectivity, and we see that ATCSL_VNet is present. So we'll click on it and we will go to the settings, and here we have the option to add a VPN connection, and then we get this ATCSL_VNet listed. So we'll click on it and click on connect. It will prompt me using a kind of a dialog box where it says click connect to begin connecting, and again we need to click on connect. So once we do that, it will take a few seconds and it will connect. Now if I see here, earlier we were getting the connect button, now that has disappeared and we have here the disconnect. And if we go to the connectivity again, we will see that ATCSL_VNet shows us connected. Now we are connected using the VPN client, and how we can verify is we will go to the Azure portal, and I've already opened this page where we have the WFE01, and if you remember from the previous session, we had the public IP address which we were using earlier to connect to this virtual machine with the IP address of 40, 113, 202 and 38, but the private IP address is 10.10.1.4. So we will just copy this IP address and we will do an MSTSC for the RDP. We'll just use the same IP address 10.10.1.4, which is this one, and we'll click on connect. So from the previous session, you must be remembering that the user that we had created was ATCSL admin, and we will be using the same user to connect to this virtual machine. We'll provide the password and we will click on OK. We'll click on yes, and there you go. Now that concludes a session, and we are able to connect to the virtual machine with the private IP address once we are connected using the VPN client to the Azure portal. So that is how the point-to-site connectivity is done and the VPN gateways are created.
In summary, what did we learn today? We saw how to create the point-to-site VPN and how end users or the clients can access Azure Virtual Network resources remotely. Hope this session was helpful to you, and now you understand how point-to-site works. You can visit azuretraining.com to go through the training material, and you can download your resources from there as well. Or you can also go to my SlideShare link that I have provided here. Thanks for watching. Keep azuring.